my son said. Stop being so dramatic, Dad. Mom's affair was just a midlife crisis. She still loves you, but she deserves a man who can give her more. My hands shook as he smirked and added, by the way, her new boyfriend offered to pay off my student loans. You should be happy for her. He had no idea I had already transferred every penny out of his college fund and prepared a legal surprise that would leave him and his mother begging for mercy. I never thought I'd be sharing my story here, but recent events have left me reeling, and I need to get this off my chest. I'm Robert, a 48-year-old accountant living in the suburbs of Chicago. For over 2 decades I believed I had built a solid, loving family with my wife, Susan, and our son, Michael. We lived in a modest home in Oak Park, a suburb known for its historic charm and close-knit community. Sight turn 0 search 18. While our life wasn't extravagant, it was comfortable. I worked tirelessly to ensure Michael had everything he needed, especially when it came to his education. Susan was a homemaker, dedicating her time to raising Michael and managing our household. Michael had always been the center of our world. From the moment he was born, Susan and I poured our hearts into providing him with love, support, and opportunities we never had growing up. He was a bright kid, always curious and eager to learn. When he expressed a desire to attend the University of Chicago, I didn't hesitate. I set up a college fund early on, making sacrifices to ensure he wouldn't be burdened with student loans. The tuition wasn't cheap, with annual costs reaching upwards of $69,324. But I was determined to give him the best. Our life seemed picture perfect, at least on the surface. But beneath that facade, cracks were forming, cracks I was too blind to see. It all began on a chilly evening in late October. I had just returned home from work, exhausted and looking forward to a quiet dinner with my family. As I stepped into the house, I noticed Susan's coat wasn't on the rack. Thinking she might be out running errands, I didn't give it much thought. I made my way to the kitchen, the aroma of freshly cooked lasagna filling the air. Susan had left a note on the counter. Dinner's in the oven. Went out with friends. Be back late. Love, Susan. I smiled, appreciating her effort to ensure I had a warm meal waiting. After dinner, I settled into my recliner, flipping through channels aimlessly. Hours passed, and Susan hadn't returned. Concerned, I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. This was unlike her. She was always punctual and considerate about informing me of her whereabouts. The following morning, Susan acted as if nothing was amiss. When I inquired about her late return, she brushed it off, mentioning that she lost track of time catching up with old friends. I wanted to believe her, so I let it go. But then, the late nights became more frequent. Susan would often leave after dinner, returning in the early hours of the morning. Her explanations grew vaguer, and a distance began to form between us. Our once lively conversations dwindled to mere exchanges of pleasantries. One evening, while Susan was out, I decided to tidy up the house. As I was organizing the living room, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A message preview flashed on the screen. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing. My heart sank. My hands trembled as I unlocked her phone. A breach of trust, I know, but I couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion. What I found shattered me. There were countless messages from a man named David, detailing intimate encounters and plans for future rendezvous. Photos, too, ones that left no room for misinterpretation. I felt the walls closing in, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. Memories of our life together flooded my mind, the vows we took, the family we built, the sacrifices made. How could she throw it all away? Confronting Susan was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I waited for her to return that night, the evidence laid out on the dining table. When she walked in and saw the display, her face went pale. Robert, she began, her voice trembling. I can explain. Explain? I shot back, my voice a mix of anger and pain. Explain how you've been unfaithful? How long has this been going on, Susan? Tears welled up in her eyes. A few months, she admitted. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was feeling lost. I needed something more. More? I echoed. Was our life not enough? Was I not enough? She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. It's not about you. It's about me. I'm going through something, a midlife crisis, maybe. I don't know. I felt a surge of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. We could have faced it together, Susan. Instead, you chose to betray our family? The days that followed were a blur. Susan moved into the guest room, and we barely spoke. Michael, who was home for the weekend, sensed the tension. Dad, he approached me one afternoon. What's going on between you and Mom? I hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. Your mother and I are working through some things, son. He frowned. Is it because of her affair? My eyes widened in shock. You know? He nodded. I overheard her on the phone a while back. I didn't want to believe it. I sighed, the weight of the situation growing heavier. We're trying to figure things out. Michael's expression hardened. Dad, maybe you're being too dramatic about this. Mom's affair was just a midlife crisis. She still loves you. But she deserves a man who can give her more. His words felt like a slap. What are you saying, Michael? He smirked, a look I had never seen on him before. By the way, her new boyfriend offered to pay off my student loans. You should be happy for her. I was speechless. The betrayal wasn't just from Susan but from Michael as well. The son I had sacrificed so much for was siding with the man who tore our family apart. Little did they know, I had already taken steps to protect myself. I had transferred every penny out of Michael's college fund into an account he couldn't access. I had also consulted with a lawyer, preparing a legal strategy that would ensure neither Susan nor Michael could take advantage of me any further. The day of reckoning arrived. Susan and Michael sat across from me in the living room, oblivious to what was coming. I've made some decisions. I began, my tone firm. Michael, your college fund is no longer accessible to you. I've redirected those funds. His face turned red with anger. You can't do that. I can and I have. I replied calmly. As for you, Susan, I've filed for divorce. Given the circumstances, my lawyer assures me that the proceedings will favor me. Susan's eyes filled with tears. Robert, please. Let's talk about this. We've talked enough, I said, standing up. Actions have consequences. You both made your choices. Now you have to live with them. As I walked away, I felt a sense of liberation. The pain was still there, but so was a newfound strength. I had been betrayed by the two people I loved most, but I wouldn't let that define the rest of my life. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding. Things didn't stay quiet for long. 3 weeks after I filed for divorce, Susan showed up at my office unannounced. I was in the middle of reviewing tax returns for a long-time client when my receptionist buzzed in, saying, "Your wife's here. She says it's urgent." I walked out into the lobby, and there she was, looking nothing like the woman I used to know. Her makeup was smeared, eyes puffy like she'd been crying for days. I didn't say a word. Just stared. "Robert, please," she whispered. "Can we talk?" "Privately." I was stupid. I let her into my office. I shut the door. She sat on the chair like she was made of glass. "David left me," she said after a long silence. I didn't respond. She kept going. "He told me it was never serious. That I was a phase. Something fun. Now he's seeing someone else. Someone younger. A nurse, I think." I still said nothing. She finally looked at me. "I made a mistake. I know that now. I miss our life. I miss you." That's when I laughed. It wasn't loud or angry. Just empty. "You miss the life you destroyed?" I asked. Tears started rolling down her face, but I didn't care anymore. "You didn't just cheat on me, Susan. You wrecked every bit of trust we had. You dragged Michael into this mess. You stood by while he mocked me and chose your affair partner over his father. That's not something I forget." or forgive. She stood up slowly, wiping her cheeks. "You've changed," she said quietly. "No," I replied. "I just finally see clearly." A week later, the first legal counterattack arrived. Susan had hired a new lawyer, an aggressive one. She was demanding alimony now. A lot of it. Suddenly the woman who said she didn't need me was claiming I abandoned her, that I was emotionally cold, that I'd been controlling. Lies. All of it. But it didn't stop there. Michael sent me a message. It was short, bitter. "You're ruining Mom's life. You're not the victim. You're just mad she found someone better." It was like someone punched me in the chest. This was my son. The same kid I sat with through high fevers. The same boy I drove to school every day for 6 years. He wasn't just siding with his mother, he was rewriting the whole story in his head. Turning me into the villain. But the biggest shock came next. I got a call from my bank about a flagged transaction. Someone tried accessing an old shared savings account. One Susan and I hadn't used in years, but it still had a few thousand in it. Enough to raise eyebrows. They caught it early, but when I confronted Susan through my lawyer, she denied everything. Of course she did. But I knew. She was desperate now. And desperation makes people dangerous. My lawyer advised me to tighten everything: locks, passwords, financial access, even my social media. He wasn't joking. I changed everything. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I got a knock on my door late one night. It was Michael. He looked rough. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, wearing the same hoodie I bought him 2 birthdays ago. He didn't say hello. "You really emptied my fund?" he asked, stepping inside without waiting. "Yes," I said, keeping my distance. He laughed, like it was absurd. "You'd rather I drop out than help me? You want me to pay for your education while you're cozying up to the man who slept with your mother? The man who offered to wipe your loans like some prize? No, Michael. You made your choices." His face turned cold. "You're punishing me because she cheated." I didn't flinch. "No. I'm cutting off someone who sees me as a bank and not a father." And then he said something that hit harder than anything yet. "She said you'd do this. That you'd try to destroy us both." Guess she was right. Then he walked out. I stood there for a long time, just listening to the wind outside, and thinking how fast love can turn into something unrecognizable. The divorce battle dragged on. Susan pushed harder. Her new lawyer kept sending motion after motion, demanding more money, claiming she sacrificed her career for me. She hadn't worked a job in over 15 years, and suddenly she was the victim? But the courts don't see betrayal. They see documents. They see years. They see sacrifice. They don't care if she cheated. They only care if she gave up something for the marriage. And she had. Still, I had my own cards to play. I had receipts. Literal and metaphorical. Messages. Bank transfers. Travel dates. Her own words saved on cloud backups she forgot existed. I wasn't about to roll over. But I also started hearing rumors from her side of the family. Her sister called me one evening, whispering like she was afraid of being overheard. "She's not stable, Robert," she said. "She's drinking again. I think she's losing it." I believed her. Susan had struggled years ago with alcohol. I thought we got through it. But betrayal changes everything. She wasn't the woman I married anymore. Then, one morning, I got a call from her. Not a text. A real call. Her voice was shaking. "I'm at the hospital," she said. I fainted. "They're running tests." I paused. "Do you want me to come?" A long silence. "No. I just thought you should know." Click. I stared at the phone. I didn't know what to feel anymore. A week after Susan's hospital call, I started getting phone calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored the first few, telemarketers I assumed, but one came in with a local area code, and something told me to answer. "Is this Robert?" A man's voice asked. Deep but unsure. Yes. Who's this? My name's Anthony. I don't know how to say this, but I think your wife, Susan, was seeing my father. I stood up from my chair so fast it nearly tipped. Your father? Yeah. He sighed. David. He's my dad. I didn't say anything. I found out because he left his phone on the counter. I saw the messages. Your wife was one of 4 women he was seeing. One of them was married to a judge. I leaned against the wall. She ever tell you about the trip to Michigan in August? I didn't answer. He took all 4 of them, on different weekends. Told each one they were the only one. It's messed up. I just thought, you deserve to know. My dad's not who she thought he was. After the call ended, I sat in silence. That was the second time I'd heard someone close to Susan say she was unraveling. But then something else happened. I came home 2 nights later, and the front door was slightly open. Not kicked in, not broken, just open. I walked inside cautious. Called out. No answer. Nothing looked taken. Nothing broken. Just off. I called the police anyway. They walked through everything, said it didn't look like a robbery, but they'd file a report. Maybe someone forgot to lock the door. But I never forget to lock the door. Ever. The next morning, I noticed something worse. My laptop was still on the desk, but when I opened it, I saw the tabs had changed. Someone had gone through my email, my finances, even my cloud storage. There were login attempts from different IPs. I checked the logs. They were from Susan's hometown. I felt sick. Either she, or someone close to her, had come into my home while I wasn't there. I changed all my passwords again, installed cameras around the property, and contacted my lawyer. He filed for a protective clause in the divorce case, citing digital tampering and possible trespassing. 2 days later, Michael showed up at my door again. But this time, he didn't look angry. He looked scared. Dad, I think Mom's losing it. I just stared. She came to my dorm last night. Drunk. Crying. Saying things like she wanted to disappear. That everyone betrayed her. She told me she's broke. Said David promised her everything, then ghosted her. Said you turned Michael against her. I had to bite back a laugh. She's spiraling, he continued. I don't know what to do. She even hinted she was thinking of doing something to end the embarrassment. I felt a knot in my chest. I didn't know what to say to her. I just drove her to a motel and made her promise she'd call me in the morning. But she hasn't. I nodded slowly. Give me the address. He looked surprised, then handed it over. I drove there in silence. I wasn't sure what I'd find, or what I even wanted to find. When I arrived, the clerk told me Susan checked out an hour ago. Alone. No one knew where she went. I called her sister. Nothing. Called her phone. Dead. Then came the email. It landed in my inbox at 3:17 a.m. One line, no subject. You all got what you wanted. I'm done pretending. I called the police immediately, handed over the email and the motel info. They issued a wellness alert, started searching areas she was known to frequent, especially near the water. Susan had always found peace walking along the lake. For 2 days, nothing. Then a call came from a hospital in Evanston. They found her on a bench near the lake, hypothermic, dehydrated, but alive. I didn't visit her. I couldn't. But I made sure she got the care she needed. The divorce was paused for a week while she was evaluated. Meanwhile, Michael texted me. I didn't realize how far she'd gone. I'm sorry. That was it. Just a few words. But it was the first time I felt he truly saw what I had been dealing with. But the twists weren't over. 3 weeks later, I received a certified letter from the university. Michael had been placed on academic probation. He wasn't attending classes, failed 2 courses. He was losing his scholarship. I called him. He admitted everything. I couldn't focus, Dad. With everything going on, I just couldn't. So what now? I asked. I was hoping maybe you'd reconsider the college fund. Just enough to get me back on track. I paused. The fund is gone, Michael. He was silent. I needed it for legal fees. For the cameras I installed. For the financial lockdown. I had to protect myself. And I warned you months ago. I didn't think you were serious. He muttered. Then you haven't been paying attention. He hung up. I stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, feeling a strange calm. Everything had collapsed, but somehow, I was still standing. Alone. But standing. And the worst part? I knew it wasn't over yet. 3 weeks after Michael's call, I got an invitation. Not a literal one, more like pressure disguised as an olive branch. Susan's sister, Marianne, called me out of the blue. We're having a small get-together, she said. At Mom's place. Just family. Susan will be there. Michael too. I told her I didn't think that was a good idea. She sighed. Robert, it's not about making peace. It's about facing the mess head on. Everyone's tired of the secrets. You should come. Say what you need to say. They'll listen. I'll make sure of it. Part of me wanted to stay away. But the other part, the part that had been stepped on, mocked, manipulated, wanted the truth out. Out loud. In front of everyone. So I went. The house was small but warm. Cozy. Susan was already there when I walked in. She looked better. Not perfect but more present. She was sipping tea, dressed in soft clothes, avoiding my eyes. Michael was there too, sitting with Marianne's husband, both watching a Bulls game with the volume down low. The tension was thick. You could cut it with a butter knife. After dinner, Marianne stood and clinked her glass. I think it's time we talk, she said. There's too much hurt here. And pretending like we're okay isn't helping anyone. She looked at Susan. Tell the truth. Say what you need to say. Susan's lip trembled. She set her cup down and stood. All eyes were on her. I made a mistake, she said quietly. A big one. I cheated. I lied. I dragged my son into it. I tried to punish the man who did nothing but love and support me for 20 years. Michael shifted in his chair, uncomfortable. Susan continued. I thought David was my escape. He made me feel seen. And I confused that feeling for love. I was wrong. He used me. And when he was done, he moved on. Silence. Her voice cracked. Robert, I'm sorry. Not just for cheating. But for turning our son against you. For gaslighting you. For making you doubt yourself. I stayed quiet. My hands were clenched. My heart pounding. Then Michael stood. I need to say something too. Everyone turned. I was angry, he said. And selfish. I saw Mom hurting and thought you were the cause. I wanted to believe her version of things because it was easier than facing the truth. That my mom lied. That my dad was right. He turned to me. I betrayed you, Dad. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything at first. Then I stood. You both hurt me in ways I can't fully explain. But here's the part you don't know. I pulled out a folder from my coat pocket and dropped it on the coffee table. Legal papers. Financial reports. Bank logs. Screenshots. Photos. All of it. I kept everything. Every message. Every transaction. Every lie. Marianne gasped when she saw the first photo. One of Susan and David at a resort in Michigan, dated 3 weeks before our anniversary. Paid with our joint account. Susan looked down. Why? She whispered. Because I needed the truth. You tried to destroy me. Both of you. You tried to rewrite history. Michael stepped forward. I know. And I don't expect forgiveness. But I want to earn back your trust. Whatever it takes. And then, Susan said something no one expected. I've checked myself into a program. she said. For alcohol. For therapy. For everything. It starts Monday. I need help. I've needed it for years. The room was silent. Marianne came over and took Susan's hand. That's brave. Then Susan looked at me. I don't expect anything from you. Not love. Not forgiveness. But I do hope you heal. And if I ever earn the right to speak to you again, I'll wait. I nodded once. That was all I could manage. After that, people drifted into their own conversations. But I stepped outside onto the porch. I needed air. Time. A few minutes later, Michael joined me. I got a part-time job, he said quietly. Dropped one class. Trying to fix what I can. I know I don't deserve much from you. But I want to learn from this. I looked at him. My son. The same boy I used to carry on my shoulders after Little League. Start by telling the truth. Always, I said. Even when it's hard. Especially then. He nodded. We stood there for a while, not saying much. Just breathing. Just existing in the same space. The days that followed were quiet. Susan started her program. Michael returned to campus, this time without a safety net. I kept working, kept going. Something inside me had shifted, not a clean break, but a tear slowly stitching itself back together. I didn't forgive. Not fully. But I stopped bleeding. What I learned is this: betrayal doesn't just destroy relationships. It warps memory. Makes you question who you were. Who they were. But in the ashes you find pieces. Pieces of the person you used to be, and the one you're becoming. I'm still angry sometimes. Still tired. Still unsure if trust can ever come back. But I'm not broken. Not anymore.